Yo, what up guys, it's Yeti here, welcome back. So in today's video, I'm going to give you a very quick guide on how to play Restoration Druid in Season 2 of the War Within in Mythic Plus. This will be the first guide. I'm going to probably make one for Raid later on as well, but I might wait for actual Raid to be released so I can show you the actual gameplay content there as well. I think the Mythic Plus playstyle is a little bit simpler because it is very, very straightforward, and it's been this way before as well. In Mythic Plus, I highly recommend you playing with this build on the screen right now. My camera is covering here, but you also do take fluid form, of course. And this is the rest of the talents that you take. The code will be in the description. And this build is actually called the Lifebloom Mythic Plus build. And just to give you an idea and the fundamental behind this build, so you are taking, in the Druid tree, you're going left side, which is cat form. You're going to be taking pretty much anything that can give you cat form damage. You can also, of course, take stuff like kick. You can take stuff like defensives. You can decide between Tiger's Dash and Wild Charge, depending on what you prefer. Of course, you also take Stampeding Roar to make your team go faster. And you take Incapacitating Roar for the AoE stun, for the AoE stop that you have. Fluid form is what allows you to go into the form very, very fast by just, pressing either Shred, Rake, or Skull Bash. That will make you cat. Mangle will make you bear, but you don't really care about that. And then Wrath and Starfile, where it will turn you into Moonkin form, but you don't have that. So in this build, you only care about the 3 cat form abilities. And then, of course, we have Heart of the Wild, which is going to be very good. It's going to buff up our damage. For those of you who don't know, Heart of the Wild is an ability that makes it so that you are doing more of what your spec, is not good at, so to speak. So as a resto, it's going to make you do more damage as a cat. That's the most important thing here. We also take Nature's Vigil, finally, because the Druid tree was remade. We can easily take Nature's Vigil, even in Mythic Plus. We can also take Innervate in Mythic Plus, and there's a new talent called Symbiotic Relationship. We will talk maybe more about this later when we're talking about how to play the class. So for the Resto tree, we play very, very simple default tree. Of course, you go with Lifebloom. You are playing with Lifebloom oriented build. Everything is very default here. You're going to end up by going Photosynthesis with Undergrowth. So you can do double Lifebloom on 2 targets at the same time. And what Photosynthesis does, it makes so if you have Lifebloom on yourself, your periodic heals are faster. So you have higher HPS. If Lifeblooms are on an ally, your heals on them have a chance to cause it to bloom. So, again, doing more healing and getting those free regrowth. Again, you're going to be also playing Call of the Elder Druid, which makes it so that you actually get a mini Heart of the Wild pretty much every time you start combat as a cat. You're also going to be playing Convoke with shorter Convoke cooldown. And you're going to take Germination. You can apply 2 Rejuvenations to the target. You're taking this in every build now because there's like an interesting interaction with the new tier set as well. So for the hero talents, we're going to, of course, go Wild Stalker. And you're just going to make it so you do more damage with your dots. These are the talents that you take right there. But I'm going to click this again. Basically, you have this thing called Bloodseeker Vines whenever you're doing damage over time effects, so you're doing more damage. And whenever you're healing with your Wild Growth, Regrowth, or Efflorescence, you have a chance to cause a bloom to grow on the target. And then this bloom can also be spread around. It's just like an additional RNG heal that you can have on top of your already existent healing over times to appear. Now, some people say you can play around this because there is a mechanic when I believe you can make it grow. So when symbiotic blooms expire or you cast Rejuvenation on their target, flowers grow around their target, healing them and up to 3 nearby allies for 17,000. So you can just do some sort of like additional AoE healing. And obviously the people that do have that, healing ability on them are also taking more healing. But in my opinion, you don't do anything crazy. Now, of course, we also want to look at the new sets that they released. So as a healer, your tier sets do the following. So your healing effects have a chance to apply insurance to their targets that heals them for 1 million over 15 seconds. Insurance is consumed if an ally drops below 40% health to heal them for half a mil pretty much. Lifebloom's Bloom has a 30% chance to apply insurance to its target for 10 seconds. When insurance is consumed or removed, it leaves a missing Rejuvenation, Regrowth, or Wild Growth heal over time effect for 15 seconds on its target. So again, another thing you can optionally track and play around is going to just apply more healing over times that are missing on the target. It has a very, very nice system where it's gonna, prioritize some effects. And because rejuvenation is the first one, it's very, very good to play this talent where you can apply 2 rejuvenation. So enough about the abilities. Now we need to talk about how to actually play this in practice, how to set up before each pack, how to do healing, how to do damage. So first of all, you have your ability we talked about earlier, symbiotic relationship. You can apply this to either a tank or yourself. So symbiotic relationship is gonna form a bond with an ally. Your self-healing is also healing your bonded ally for 10% of the amount healed, and your healing to the bonded ally also heals you for 8% of the amount healed. So in practice, when I try this in many, many keys, it's mostly healing the target you apply it to. So I would apply this to a squishy target in Mythic Plus or the tank. Because, if applied to a squishy target, they're going to, receive more healing that they need. And if you apply it to your tank, you're going to probably get more healing yourself because, tanks are usually going to be standing in your efflorescence and things of that sort, right? So first of all, we apply that, we get a buff. There we go on ourselves as well. We get a buff on them. It's very important. Every time a pack starts, we are dropping efflorescence on the floor. And as you can see, efflorescence is already proccing healing blossoms on everyone, which is 1 healing over time effect already. And of course, efflorescence is going to be lasting on the ground for like 30 seconds. And it's a very big circle, so you're going to hit as many people as possible. You want to apply Lifeblooms on 2 targets. It can be yourself and tank. It can be whoever you think at that moment. You gotta figure these things out, depending on what kind of group you're playing. But usually the safest is going to be probably you and a squishy DPS again. It doesn't have to be the one with the symbiotic relationship. I don't think symbiotic relationship is ever worth specifically playing around. Maybe in the future when tuning is different, it will be. But right now, symbiotic relationship is like a 2% healing effect. So generally speaking, you can do whatever you want, right? So you apply 2 Lifeblooms. You have the thingy on the floor, the efflorescence. And then when you have 2 Lifeblooms out, you get free regrowths. And let's say I regrowth this person right here. So bam, I just applied 3 regrowths to 3 different people, and it was also free because of the Lifebloom effect, right? So again, we got 1 more free, we got 1 more free, and every time I am, targeting someone with this ability, I'm also healing both of my Lifebloom targets. And as you can see, I track Lifebloom with a number. Why do I do that? And I would also recommend you to do it. If you don't know how to do it, I can probably teach you. Ask me in the comments. I'll make a full guide for grids too. You want to actually make, let me just explain to you. So Lifebloom, when it expires or is dispelled, the target is instantly healed for, a pretty big amount, right? This is also going to give you like a free cast pretty much, right? So let's say we're going to apply 2 Lifeblooms here. We could wait for these to entirely expire, right? So there we go. It bloomed once. We got a free cast. Bam. We can use that heal, right? So when it's about 4 seconds, bam, we can just instantly consume that, right? To get an insta heal. So you don't have to wait for it to fall. You can use that global a lot sooner for the big heal and to extend the duration, right? I think it's called the pandemic effect in World of Warcraft when you reapply a healing over time like that. And also, when you cause it to bloom, so you are doing additional things in your tree. When Lifebloom blooms, up to 3 targets within your efflorescence are healed. So there's just like so many small interactions, every time there are things blooming and things happening. You should just get very, very used to keeping up 100% Lifebloom on 2 people because it's gonna give you free casts. It's gonna give you literally the highest value ever of your regrowth where it's being casted on 3 targets at the same time. And, as I said, the healing is pretty big. Now, there's also a few more combos you can do in Mythic Plus. You also have something called Swift Mend. So Swift Mend has to be used on a target that has one of the healing over time effects on it. It can be used on person with regrowth, wild growth, or rejuvenation. Also, you're not actually consuming these buffs because we mentioned earlier the build we're playing. So let's say this person here has a regrowth on them. So I'm going to target Austin. I'm going to consume that, and I get a buff called Soul of the Forest, which increases the healing of her next regrowth or rejuvenation or wild growth. So after you get this, in Mythic Plus especially, it's very good to use it on regrowth because you have 2 targets that are going to also get the better version of that, right? So that right here, stronger version of my regrowth, I do it here. Bam. So 3 targets got hit by a very, very strong regrowth. And in AoE damage, this is probably the highest healing you can do. Because in raiding, you're almost always going to Swift Mend into Wild Growth. But Wild Growth is still very, very good in Mythic Plus. Don't worry about it. It's still a very, very strong spell. You can still even do, Swift Mend into Wild Growth. it's not necessarily bad. But yeah, then you also have Rejuvenation, which we mentioned earlier. You can use Rejuvenation on targets with symbiotic blooms. The new, like, Mythic Plus, Wild Stalker, passive proc that can proc sometimes. But I think generally speaking, you're not going to be using, Rejuvenation that much in Mythic Plus. I think that Regrowth is a lot stronger, and obviously Lifebloom is just insane, right? You also have Nature Swiftness, which makes your cast instant. Again, you're going to be healing 3 targets with an instant cast, which is massive, right? And then you also have the Grove, the Treants, right, which are really awesome because you can use them out of cat form. So you don't have to leave cat form. You drop them on the floor. Easy clap. They're now healing your teammates without you doing anything. You're still able to DPS in cat form. Now you have Convoke as well. You can Convoke either offensively or defensively. You can Convoke either for damage out of cat form, right? It's going to be very, very big. So you have, like, let's say you're doing a boss and there's no damage happening. So you're going to go cat form, right? You're going to pop Heart of the Wild if possible. Or, let's say if I go into stealth here and I, hit this guy, I will get Heart of the Wild because of that talent, and I can instantly Convoke, right? So there we go. I got full Convoke out, and, I did a lot of damage to that guy purely because my Convoke was in the timing of the buff from Call of the Elder Druid. So there are just like some small combos and things about Resto Druid like that, right? Again, you also have Ursol's Vortex, which you can use on mobs. So if I use that, then they're CC'd, right? Even if they would like try to run to me now, they would get pulled back. And also, you have another massive ability. It's called Incapacitating Roar. Bam. It incaps everyone. This can be used to stop targets and things of that sort. Now, there's another really massive thing this season in Mythic Plus that we did not speak about yet, and it is Fluid Form Skull Bash. So, in the past, Druid had a very, very annoying time trying to kick because your kick required you to be in cat form. Now, you actually just cast Skull Bash. So, again, you should probably be using a focus macro of some sort. Cast Add Focus exists. And then these brackets, which make it normal targeting, Skull Bash. So, I target this person. And if this person starts casting something, I can be in whatever form. So, I can be, casting rats here. And like that. Okay. 3, 2, 1. Boom. And we still kick that person instantly, right? We went cat, we instantly kicked them. Now, don't also forget about the fact that you also have Tranquility, another amazing ability in Mythic Plus that can be used for pretty much, any situation where your whole group needs healing. This was significantly buffed in the last update where cast time went from 8 to 5 seconds. So now you get all of your buffs out where, people are just getting healed an insane amount. You can use this to mitigate pretty much anything big in Mythic Plus, any big hit, any big AoE dot. You, of course, also have an ability called Scenario and War. We've not talked about it yet, but this is the core of Mythic Plus gameplay for Restoration Druid. This is something I always cast on my tank pretty much. But again, in situations where there's AoE damage and somebody does not have a healing over time on them, or somebody doesn't have a defensive on them, this is how you're going to drop it on. You're going to just, let's say this hunter, I know there's AoE coming, I just pop it on him. Okay, he's not an LOS, but you know what I mean, right? It's really simple. Has a low cooldown, but it's going to be consumed pretty fast, so you're not going to be really able to stack them, right? So again, remember, you always want to have your Lifebloom up, you want to have your Flower up, and the rest of abilities have up, a purpose, right? Of course, don't forget about symbiotic relationships as well. There are a lot of things in Resto Druid you need to remember that they should be out there, but once you get used to the class, to the feel, to the vibe, I think it's an incredible, it's a really fun class to play, right? We also didn't talk about defensives yet. So there are more ways you can, mitigate damage as a Restoration Druid. You have, obviously, Bark Skin on yourself, which is a defensive for 30% damage. It has a pretty long duration. It has a 1-minute cooldown. Now, you also have Iron Bark, which is a 1.2-minute cooldown in the Mythic Plus build. So you're going to take Iron Bark with improved Iron Bark, which is going to reduce the cooldown by 20 seconds. And it's also going to make it so allies protected by your Iron Bark also receive 75% of the healing from each of your active rejuvenations, and Iron Bark's duration is increased by 4 seconds. So your rejuvenations are, generally speaking, going to be, a lot of them will be applied because of the insurance, the tier set. So your Iron Bark is going to be crazy strong. Like, you're going to pop this on someone, they will literally be immortal for that time. Like, their damage is reduced by 20%, and they're going to be getting so much healing just because you should, generally speaking, have some of these out, like at all times, right? Some random rejuvenations. And yeah, it's gonna be really sick, but I think it's more of a tier set thing, right? So yeah, of course, don't also forget, if you have no defensives up, you can also go bear form. Make sure to bind your bear form. It can be control 1. This is what I use for my forms. And when you go into bear form, so I have 8.4 mil HP. When I'm human form, I have 6.46 right now. So it is a pretty big increase, right? So yeah, this is gonna be I think the general, like the basic idea on how to play this class. I don't want to teach you too much about the min-maxing of dots and hots and things of that sort. I want to give you like a general idea on how to play the class, and then you guys can go out there and practice this class and play it to your best possibilities. I think this season it's going to be very, very nice and comfortable to play Resto Druid, simply because of the amount of ways you have to save your teammates. It might be overwhelming to a beginner, but generally speaking, I think Resto Druid is in a situation where every single ability has a purpose it serves, right? I already told you, you don't need to track insurance. You don't need to track symbiotic blooms, right? You need to only track, regrowth. You need to track wild growth. The double rejuvenations is going to be more relevant in raiding than Mythic Plus, but you can also track it in Mythic Plus. And then, of course, Lifebloom, your bread and butter in Mythic Plus, right? So once you're tracking these, it's going to be, I think, a lot easier to play the game, to understand the game. And, of course, get timers for things like efflorescences. This can be done by weak auras or, a lot of different add-ons out there. You can get packs from people like Luctos who create like, full packs for your class with pretty much everything already built in and working. So yeah, that's going to be it for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and have a good rest of your day, and I'll see you around. Peace out.